What is up, guys? Zack Scriven here. Thank you for tuning in to the Zack Scriven Podcast. I'm here with Paul Lynn. He's from the States, but he lives in Bolivia. He's retired. He's an online PLC instructor, and he was kind enough to be on the podcast for the Automation Month here on the Zack Scriven Podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Intellic Integration, Udemy, and also Zack Scriven Media. So thank you, and viewers like you. So thank you guys for being a part of the show. Mr. Paul Lynn, thank you for being on the Zack Scriven Podcast. You are live.
My pleasure. It's a distinct honor. It's something I've only dreamed of up to this point.
Oh my gosh, you're funny, man. Okay, so we were just talking. We literally met maybe about 5 minutes ago. The reason why I came across your content was on LinkedIn. I saw someone had posted a PLC certificate, and it took like 24 hours of content, like on the advanced course. And so that kind of drew my attention to you as a PLC instructor. And I really wanted to have you on the podcast to gain some inspiration from you and to spread awareness about you and what it is that you are doing. And then to provide feedback to the listeners and the viewers, how maybe that's something that they may want to do. So why don't you tell us about how you got started in your career and where you're at now?
You know, it's hilarious. By degree, I'm actually an MBA. I finished that while I was in the Air Force. And after that, I went into management consulting, and that was swell, but the swelling eventually went down. So I ended up basically going to work for this terrible, terrible engineering firm in Miami. I won't say the name, but this place was just a nightmare. And they hired me, and they didn't even really know what they wanted me to do. They just said, he's a smart guy, he's awful pretty, and we're sure we can make some money off of him. So they got me there and gave me an office and a desk and a big fancy computer, and they basically said, here, contribute. So I kind of got to write my own ticket, and I walked over to the guy who, they had this one guy who was doing all the mechanical design. And that poor dude was like 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, just nonstop, and couldn't keep up. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to come help you out. And he's like, well, great. You know, are you a mechanical engineer? I'm like, no way. And he's like, well, at least you know how to use AutoCAD. I'm like, what the hell is that? So I took a month and taught myself AutoCAD. And about 3 months later, I was designing half of the equipment that company made. And so, you know, that was kind of like, you know, wow, you know, he didn't have to ask me any questions. He didn't take any courses. He's just doing it. And I mean, I was designing the stuff in 3D and creating all the fabrication, assembly drawings, the works. But now we're getting to the part that you care about. We had lost our PLC programmer, and we had a project coming due. And so our VP engineering, this guy named Jim, he was a good old boy if you ever saw a good old boy. Real straight shooter, kind of old guy, you know, he didn't play around. He was funny though. Pulls me into his office and he's like, Paul, can you program, you know, the next project? Can you program the PLC for the next project? So I, you know, didn't want to come off all cocky and stuff. Maybe I am, but I didn't want to come off that way. So I kind of thought for a second, and I tried to answer pretty diplomatically. And I said, well, Jim, I don't have any experience programming PLCs. And he kind of got annoyed by my, you know, false modesty. He said, that's not what I asked you. I asked you, can you get it done? And I looked him square in the face and I said, give me 30 days, I'll have the thing running. And he's just like, okay, you're our new PLC programmer. That was the whole conversation. Like, I mean, that was it. I walked back past the old PLC programmer's desk on the way back to my own. I grabbed a Micrologix 1400 off of his desk and a couple of cables, sat down and started reverse engineering programs from other projects, going online, finding whatever resources I could to figure out what I was doing. And, you know, this was about 9 years ago, plus or minus. And, you know, 30 days later, I demoed the system for everybody, you know, the HMI interface, you know, the procedures, how it worked, everything. And everyone's just like, yep, good enough. That's what we wanted. And, you know, project was done. And I've been a PLC programmer ever since. But that's it. That's my formal engineering education. that is my formal PLC education. That's where it came from. And today I've got something just south of 22,000 students in 155 countries around the world that think all of a sudden I'm qualified to teach them how to program PLCs. But, from the feedback I've gotten and the, advancement that a lot of these guys have reported to me in their careers and such, I guess I'm telling them something useful, and I guess they're getting something out of it. So yay, everybody won.
Awesome.
Awesome.
You said there for a second, when you started to get into the PLC, you're like, oh, that's the part that you care about. I do, have a background in control automation, PLC programming, SCADA. And so that is kind of at my heart. And a lot of my audience, that's where they hail from too. But I think the silver lining in your story is basically not being afraid to try something new. And, it's like you could have used the excuse like you didn't know how to program a PLC, but you didn't let that stop you. And like I said, that's a silver lining in your story. And I think that's awesome. And that's really kind of the part that I actually really do care about, is finding unique stories like yourself, like other guests that I have on the podcast, and really trying to figure out what it is that makes them tick, find out, gain some inspiration from them and some life lessons. So now tell me about like why you decided to make your first PLC programming course on Udemy, and like, had you been comfortable on camera before, or tell me what that journey is like for you, because I know a lot of people are scared of the camera. And also that's kind of what I like sharing, is like, it's scary for all of us, but sometimes you just got to break through, and then you get more comfortable. So tell me about your first PLC programming video.
Well, talking about like trying new things, it's a Richard Branson quote, at least supposedly it is, but you know how many quotes get attributed to people that they probably never said? But, supposedly he said, if somebody offers you a job that you don't know how to do it, take the job and figure it out.
Yeah.
That's how opportunity works. It doesn't knock twice. It doesn't wait for you to get a college education. Here's the opportunity. Can you do it or can you not? And, figure it out if you can't. That's the answer. So the same thing when it came to creating a course. I had been, I stay up on the news, and especially tech news, because I'm a raging geek. And that being said, for like a year solid, I kept reading about Java programming. There's this huge demand. There's this huge gap in Java programming. There's not enough programmers. And, I'm looking at this money, and it's just these insane Java dollars getting they're just sitting there on desks and tables. And in my mind, there's just these big piles of, drug dealer money, just sitting there on these desks waiting for Java programmers that don't exist. And I'm like, I'm a happy PLC programmer. I'm sitting here in Bolivia, where it's like springtime weather all year round. I'm just sitting here programming in my leisure time, working remotely and making, money. But, you always look at, what's on the other guy's plate always looks like it tastes a little better, right? So I'm like, I got to get my hands on some of these Java dollars. So I go online and I'm looking for some Java, lessons, tutorials, because you already know from my PLC background, I'm not scared to learn something informally online.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got the sum total of human knowledge, right here, like in our pockets on our cell phones.
Yeah.
Dude, run a Google search and find something out and then go make money off of it. It's free. Do it, right? So, I'm looking for Java tutorials, and I found some courses by John Purcell, really cool dude, and he, teaches like some raging Java courses on Udemy. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to jump in. The first one's free, and, it teaches the basics. So I jumped in and I finished that whole course in, I don't know, like a week or so. And I'm like, I'm blown away. I'm like, I know how to do this stuff now. I learned a lot. I didn't pay a penny. Hey, wait a minute. If this guy can make a course, I can make a course too. What's he got that I ain't got? I'm pretty, I can do it if he can do it. So, it's just like, okay, how do I record my screen on my computer? Oh, like that? Okay, that's cool. Go to Udemy, how do I make a course? Oh, I need a microphone and okay, I can get that stuff. Great, And it took me like 3 weeks to turn out my first PLC course. And, after that, I was just like, great. I mean, I never really did anything in front of a camera before, but most of this is screencasting anyway. So it's like, on one hand, I feel good because I don't have to dress up and comb my hair every morning. But on the other hand, I feel kind of bad because I'm depriving the world of seeing my beautiful face. But, I'm trying to teach PLC programming, not male modeling. So it's just like, okay, I'm going for it, And I made the course, and, the response was tepid. It was a new course. I didn't do any marketing. And it was just like, well, someone signed up this week. Someone will sign up next week, whatever. And I'm just like, okay, this Udemy stuff's going to buy me like a cheeseburger a month or something. That's okay. I'm a big boy. I like cheeseburgers, so I'll take it, And I didn't really think much of it. Now I'm, pursued my Java programming. I kept learning that. A couple of months later, I started working in Java programming. I was making even fatter cash. I didn't want to even know about PLCs anymore. And, now I'm just like sitting here, I'm a programmer. It's cool. I've got like 6 screens on my desktop. It's like geek heaven. I'm like a rock star now. So it's awesome. And I just totally forgot about the PLC course. I mean, I kept up on student questions and things, but I really didn't care. There wasn't any money in it. But year over year, man, that thing just started growing and it started picking up. And I'm just like, yo, I got to make some more PLC programming courses. There's bank in that, right? And so then, like 2 years later, I turned out like, a second, a third, and a fourth PLC course. And by that point, now it's just like, it's insane. And it's like fat cash. And I mean, I'm just like, cool. It's like before, I was all angry about the 1%. And then I'm like, a couple of years later, whoa, now I am the 1%. Hey, these guys are cool. There's no problem having money. It's nice.
Yeah.
So, that's basically how I started doing the courses. And at first I didn't really have to get in front of the camera, but later on in my courses, I got myself in front of the camera because knowing how much money there was on the table, it's just like, I can overcome a little bit of apprehension about getting in front of a camera. It's just like, okay, hey guys, welcome to my new PLC programming course. Thanks for signing up. You probably just bought me a new camera or something, but we won't talk about that. And, it was pretty cool. So by the time I got to my 4th PLC programming course, I mean, I had run out of stuff that I already knew how to teach. So I'm literally like learning this stuff on YouTube or something, and then turning around and teaching it like 5 minutes later. Mm-hmm. And then, doing my next lecture the same way. It's like, okay, so how do I program in structured text? Oh, okay. I think I get it. Hey guys, today we're going to learn about structured text programming. It's really cool. I think you're going to like this. I know I do.
That's dude, that's so awesome. I really like that. I mean, in a lot of ways, my own story is similar to yours, but, I'm just a few, maybe a decade behind, like quitting my job doing PLC programming to do content creation, content marketing. Like you said, no one's like just gonna like, all right, here's Zach, here's your full LinkedIn career. No, it's like I got to go out there, strike while the iron's hot. The opportunity is not gonna knock twice, So that's what I'm doing, and I really like your style. And I think it goes back to that similar thing. Like, yeah, I'm not making fat stacks right now, but the stacks is not. I mean, the stacks will be nice. The stacks is secondary, but it's about providing value. And like while I was working on one project, I'm like, I'm not providing enough value. And you probably maybe felt the same way. But it's like when you teach 1,000 people tens of thousands of people to program PLCs, now all of a sudden your impact has gone so much bigger that your value is provided so much more. And therefore, you're going to be rewarded for that value that you're providing. And the world itself is just iterating over itself so much faster. Like you said, the technology in this, and it's people like you, people like me, people that have drives, people like the listeners that want to better themselves, better their lives, and are not afraid of like taking that chance to, do something different, do something amazing. So, do you have any remarks on that?
That's about it.
Maybe I should explain why. I don't know if sorry for cutting you off. What were you saying?
Oh, no, there's lag, so that's not your fault. But all I was going to say is, I mean, in 2018, There is no excuse for a person not doing whatever it is in the world that they want to do. So whatever is your passion or whatever opportunity you see, I mean, it's literally like a YouTube video or a Udemy course, or, it's just that far away. Whatever you want to learn how to do, you can learn it cheap or free. You can practice it, you can do it, and someone will pay you once you get good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no, you had a rich daddy and I didn't. You went to an Ivy League school, I didn't. I mean, you can literally learn something in 1 month's time that you paid like $10 to learn, and somebody will pay you $100,000 a year to perform that job. I mean, opportunities out there.
Yeah, like you said, that opportunity, like you were saying, like that Java money is just sitting there on the table. You just got to go start mining it, right? So I think that's cool. So I was gonna say I should explain probably why I have purple hair, because I don't think I did that on the podcast yet. So I'm doing a daily LinkedIn video series. Like kind of my company, my marketing firm, my content is all kind of centered around LinkedIn, because I don't know, I see a lot of opportunity there with LinkedIn video being so new and so up and coming. But anyways, there's a girl, her name's Goldie Chan. She has green hair and she has the longest daily LinkedIn video series. Like she's on day like 280. And LinkedIn video only came out like last August. So she's basically been in it from the beginning. And I'm like, yeah, why can't I be like Goldie Chan? Like she has a marketing company, like her own marketing firm, Green Robot, I think. And yeah, she's just like spreading value, spreading content marketing tips, and like it's not like it's easy, like it's a lot of work, like but it's what I want to do, so I'm passionate about it, so it doesn't feel like work,
But just don't ask what she got that I don't got.
Yeah. And it's not like it's a competition. Like I painted my hair because like I look up to her, but also at the same time, there's nothing stopping me from being her, like not like her herself, you know what I'm saying? But it's just, I take inspiration from a lot of people like you, like everyone I have on the podcast. I have something to learn from. On that note, let's take a quick sponsor break. So I'm going to share my screen here. So I have an affiliate program with Udemy, but Paul has not opted into the Udemy course, but don't let that stop you from signing up today using the link in the description. You see he has PLC 1, 2, 3, 4. Like he said, he has 22,000 students. Here's PLC programming scratch from 1. Udemy is a really cool course. Like you said, $10, you can learn this, and in a month you could be programming PLC and making a really good income without any college degree. Like I don't have a college degree. You have an MBA, but you're not even working in an MBA type field, right? So if you guys are interested in expanding your knowledge, definitely consider Udemy. Like I said, Paul is not part of the affiliate program, but like I said, don't let that stop you from signing up. And I'm really just trying to spread value, spread awareness of, interesting content like yourselves. And the second sponsor for today is Intellic Integration. Intellic Integration is a full service MES SCADA system integrator. And I've actually worked with them in the past. They've sponsored the entire automation month here on the Zack Scriven Podcast. I'm super thankful for that. It's not a whole lot of money, but they did probably spend more than what I'm worth at today's time. So I really appreciate that. And I'm in turn trying to help spread their message. They're a really cool company. So go check out their website in the link in the description, and show the support for the podcast and for the sponsors. I'd really appreciate that. And finally, viewers like you, thank you guys for listening. I do appreciate it, and the comments. We're going to publish this to LinkedIn, and I have Zack Scriven Podcast highlights. So if I find like a 1 or 2 minute key talking point, I'll probably publish that to LinkedIn, and really just try to help spread awareness of like it is really possible to live your dreams. So on that note, coming back into Mr. Paul Lynch, the man of the hour. How was that?
I liked it.
That's
good stuff.
I'm getting better. I'm trying different things. So, like I didn't have time to do a pre-recorded video, which I normally do, but I like to kind of inject some personality and some fun into my advertisements. I mean, I kind of almost play like not like a parody, but it's kind of funny, But I just think it's so awesome that it's starting to change. Like marketing is shifting from like, oh, here's our product, you buy it for A, B, and C, to like kind of like more like
everybody wants a story,
to more like the Apple marketing, where it's just like, you're marketing a brand. You're just building brand awareness. It's like Simon Sinek says, like start with why. Um, insert other cliche motivational quotes.
Yeah.
So in your LinkedIn post, it looks like you had just gotten or LinkedIn profile of the photo. It looks like you had just got done with like the Tour de France. So do you want to tell us, the audience, the listener, what some of your hobbies are? I see like a bike in your background. It looks like you're pretty fit. So what are some of your hobbies?
Well, let's see. My wife and I do about 10 hours worth of Taekwondo training a week. We do private classes, 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday. We do mountain biking. We do a little climbing. Oh, let's see what else. We are right now in the process of opening up a photo studio, which I can't confirm this, but people who have industry knowledge say that it probably is going to be the best photo studio in the country. So yeah, and we're just kind of doing that out of boredom because when you're old and you're retired, you really just have to do something to keep your hair from falling out. So
I love
before
how
that becomes an
you look like
issue,
late 20s, early 30s, and you're like when you're old and retired.
close, but I'm 41.
Okay, that's pretty good. Still got long years left, so I'm interested to see what you do with it.
Well, if I was just letting myself sit on the couch and watch TV, which I don't even watch TV, but yeah, I mean, I don't even want to imagine, right?
Yeah.
Especially at this age, things start to go bad like really fast. But no, we stay active. We do a lot of stuff, and like the photo studio, we're really just doing that out of boredom. The idea just occurred to us one day. It's like, hey, we should totally make a photo studio because like then we could take pictures and stuff. Wouldn't that be cool? And it's just like, yeah, okay, that sounds like fun. So the next day we've got like $30,000 worth of equipment on order on Amazon. And we're like looking for properties. So like there's this really nice, it's like a decent mall. It's like the best mall in town. And so we, went into we found like this great big space in the mall. So we're just like, yeah, okay, we'll just like take this whole area. It's like 120 square meters, and we'll just like turn this into our photo studio. And
Nice.
yeah, so that's supposed to get finished in about a week. And it's just going to be this banging fun little project that we're going to do. And I mean, who even knows if we can really sell photography in Bolivia? Because here, I mean, even for like big company marketing campaigns, they've got something that it looks like a 6-year-old recorded with an iPhone 4,
Yeah.
and that's like good enough. They're happy to use that. So for what we're marketing, with this studio, whether it's going to fly or not remains to be seen. But I plan on kicking out a few Udemy courses on photography, which one or two of those alone is going to more than justify the investment into the studio.
Yeah.
So if we never have a domestic customer, it's not going to be any loss. If we do, hey, that's just icing on the cake.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you're highlighting a really interesting point that when people are like driven by fear and by like the need to make a paycheck in the next week, like it kills inspiration, it kills innovation. And like now that you're retired, you're free to explore new opportunities, find what it is that you're passionate about, and really that's when you can actually provide the most value. So my question to you is like how has like finances like and a debt and like your financial journey been? Like was there a time where you felt like you know like you were living paycheck to paycheck? Like what did it take to get out of that? Because I feel like a lot of people are in that situation. And for me, becoming debt free last year, like paying off the student loans and everything, the cars, is a big reason of why I'm able to take this risk. Is like I don't have to pay the bank all my income, so I can try new things. So like, do you have any points on that? Like any advice?
I've fallen on hard times a couple of times in my life. I mean, I was born in hard times. I grew up, on government cheese until I was 17 and ran screaming from my parents' house. So I mean, I was born into a welfare system in poverty, and once I got out on my own, I worked really hard, and did fairly well. But even still, every once in a while, your company shuts down, or there's a layoff or something like that, and you're just like standing there with empty pockets, like, oh, what do I do now? So yeah, that's happened. But the real thing is, and what really kills a person that gets in that zone where they're just, like you said, going from paycheck to paycheck, is once you have that paycheck coming in, you get comfortable.
Yeah.
And anyone who's in that situation is like shaking their head and say, no, stupid, you're not comfortable. It sucks. You don't know where your food's coming. You can't do anything. And, yeah, okay, I understand it's not a comfortable position to be in, but how many hours did you spend last week looking for a better opportunity, or trying to skill up, or training for the next bigger job? Well, I'm too busy. I don't have time. Yeah. Nobody has time, to invest in a better tomorrow. Nobody has time to better themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people just fall in that groove where, dude, it's just so much easier to blame your boss and blame the fact that you didn't have a rich daddy, and to blame this. And, we got all kinds of excuses why we aren't responsible for our own lives.
That's crazy. Oh, hold on. I lost your audio. Hello? Stand by.
Audio back.
There we go. Cool.
Okay, it looks like my trusty lapel mic batteries weren't as charged as they were claiming to be. So
Awesome.
I had to switch. Fortunately, I've got backup audio sources over here. So yeah, ready to rock.
Awesome.
But yeah, what I was trying to say is, when we're in that paycheck to paycheck zone, we're comfortable. We don't try to build up, skill up. We don't train. We just go to work the next day, make enough money to get by, wake up and repeat. And, until we make that time to, try to work our way out of that rut and work our way into a better future, nobody's just going to come, and the job fairy is not just going to lay something better on your lap.
Yeah.
And, people kind of get hostile, and, they get in that groove, and they get bitter, and they blame everybody. And, that's never solved anything for anybody. So, what did it for me was, and that's something that I mentioned even before we started talking about this. I was PLC programming. I wasn't paycheck to paycheck. I was doing fine. I had money, sitting around.
Yeah.
But even still, I'm like, something smells like money. Where's that smell coming from? Let me try and get over there. And yeah, I was still doing some programming, but at the same time, I was putting 4 hours a day into, learning Java programming, so I could go out and get some bigger dollars the next day. And, I did it. Nobody was holding my hand. Nobody was sending me to an Ivy League school. I just up and did it. And the whole thing cost me about $50 to buy that training on Udemy and, learn the stuff and practice on my own and go get the job. So, that's the real secret right there, is don't get comfortable.
Yeah.
If you spend 8 or 10 hours a day working a job that barely pays the bills, okay, that's fine. But try to find 2 or 3 hours in that same day. Better if it's on the job. That way you're getting paid to do this,
Yeah.
But try to find 2 or 3 hours to learn something that's of more value than what you're doing today, or something that you're passionate about. But I mean, if you're struggling for money, sometimes we have to lay passion aside and chase paycheck instead.
Yeah.
Get the paycheck, and then, great, pursue your passions if your passions aren't lucrative.
Yeah. So for me, sorry, we're lagging a bit. Okay. So for me, I've always had a passion for creating videos. I started YouTube back when it first came out, making parodies when I was in high school and stuff. And even before that, I was 5 years old. I was in first grade, and my mom, we had a "what does your parent do" type of project. And like most people did a poster board and pictures and stuff. And like my mom and she took me out to a wastewater treatment plant because she had done the, SCADA system for it. And I'm like on the clarifier and she's filming me with like an old, tape camera. And I'm like on the clarifier. I'm like, so this is, I was like hosting, I was like being visual with it. And I'm like, dang. And so I watched that and I'm like, I've always had a passion for video. And so like over the last 6 months while I was still working my job, 8 hours a day plus 3 hours commute, I would get home, spend an hour with the family, put my daughter to bed, and then from like 9 to 12 I would focus on content creation, building my skills, social networking. And eventually it got to be the point where I was like, all right, now's the time. I haven't made it into a full-time income yet, but I don't really see that. Like, why should I let that stop me? Or for example, my daughter's 1.5. Why should I let her stop me from building the best life that I want to build for her? Like that doesn't make any sense. Is it a sacrifice? Yes. Like, did I lose sleep? Yes. Could I spent more evenings with her and my daughter or my fiance? Yes. But then now I get to be with them home all day, right? So that was worth it. So, don't let, like you said, you are the only person stopping you from achieving your dreams. So don't let external sources be an excuse, because there's a million excuses, but really there's only one thing stopping you.
That's a fact.
Do you have any questions for me?
Are you asking me or viewers?
You.
Well, you already answered it. Why is your hair purple?
Okay, because I'm crazy and why not, I painted it with my daughter too, so she got some purple hair. We did a little video. It was fun,
Nice.
That's kind of what I like to bring into my brand is like, it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to like spend time with your family and be passionate about them and trying to build a life around around what you're passionate about. Like for me, it's my family, God, and helping others, right? Helping inspire others, helping spread knowledge, and the rest will kind of take care of itself. So I'm going to end it for this episode of the Zack Scriven Podcast. Thank you, Paul Lynn, for being on, and it was a pleasure. I mean, like, I don't even know how I came across you, but in a way, like, you're the perfect person of people that I kind of want on this podcast. People that are going to spread some knowledge. They're not trying to like keep it all closed up. They're willing to spread it, and it's awesome, man. Thank you.
It's funny. I've actually had students of mine come up to me and say, "Hey, I want to do my own PLC training course on Udemy. Can you give me some tips?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and I tell them what software I use and what microphones I use, and even when somebody's actually trying to compete with me,
yeah,
I'm trying to help them out. So don't get me wrong. I like having a paycheck. A paycheck is good. But once that's satisfied, that's really just kind of a check mark in the box. Once that's done, in 4 years of having courses on Udemy, when a student reaches out, I make myself available on LinkedIn, Facebook, the Udemy platform, and even they have my personal email address. And, with the exception of like Sabbath, I don't work on Sabbaths, but with that exception, somebody sends me an email, I try to get them like as fast as I can. That's not something that I get paid extra for. That's just something that, like you said, I do have a genuine passion for helping anybody who is trying to better themselves, which, is probably why I don't teach at a university, because, you've got a bunch of brats that, their parents are making them go. Otherwise, they're going to have to get real jobs.
Yeah.
So they don't really want to be there, half of them. They don't really care about what you're teaching. It's just a requirement for their degree program. And you're, sitting there trying to be like, some Dead Poet Society guy trying to get them inspired. And I'm just like, okay, I don't have the time or the patience. I'm an old man. But if you show up and, you've got that ambition and you want it for yourself, I mean, I will bend over backwards, not literally because I'm old, but, I'll do what I can to, try to get that knowledge and get that understanding in their hands, just because probably, when I was working my way up, there wasn't a mentor, there wasn't a role model, there wasn't anybody, there wasn't a parent figure, there wasn't anybody there holding my hand teaching me what to do, telling me where to go. And, if I can make the journey that much easier for somebody else, I'm all about it.
Amen. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. The world is changing right before your eyes. Take note. You're the only one stopping you. You guys have all the tools to do whatever it is that you guys can dream of. So thank you, Paul. Thank you, listener. Thank you, viewer. And we'll see you guys on another episode of the Zack Scriven Podcast.